Many of us may feel fortunate to share quality time and a meal with friends and family. However, some people are living without shelter and are going hungry. Hello, I'm Alyssa Azara. For the next 30 minutes, we will take an in-depth look at homelessness in Northeast Louisiana. What's being done to get people off the streets and in temporary or permanent housing, what's preventing people from getting the help they need, and what's being done in Washington, D.C. to provide the much-needed help for the most vulnerable. But first, we have to dig deeper into the problem and see how big the problem really is. Captain Jerry Casey from the Salvation Army says homelessness is a tremendous issue.
There's so many homeless in this area, you don't see them. You know, they're in crooks and crannies. You don't see them. They're behind a building. They're on a stoop. They walk around all day long.
The Home Coalition reported 162 homeless people in Northeast Louisiana in January of last year. Casey says there are many reasons why someone could be homeless, including mental health, addiction, domestic violence, and natural disasters.
With COVID over the last 18 months, 24 months, with the hurricanes that we've had, with the ice, even back all as far as the ice storm was back there, it did damage to homes that just knocked people out. We've had floods, we've had all kinds of situations. You know what we face here in Louisiana, tornadoes, everything else. That all contributes to homelessness.
The Home Coalition says around 73% of those homeless are individuals and the rest are families with children. The Salvation Army has both a women and men's shelter at their location in Monroe. Casey says the shelter can hold 56 people and they are packed every single night. However, the Salvation Army offers much more than just a place to stay.
We give them a shower, we give them some clothes, we let them settle down and regroup. We have a caseworker that comes in once a week. And he speaks with each and every individual. We also have a medical bus that comes in on every Tuesday. We also have 12-step programs that come every Tuesday night.
Whether it's a place to stay or help finding a job, the Salvation Army helps the homeless get back on their feet, and they do it with the help of the community.
We are here to help them. That's what we're here to do. And the community helps us. So we're just going to continue. It's a great system. Community helps us. We help them. Other organizations help us. We help them. It works. The system works. This community is unbelievable as far as helping people that are in a bad way. The Salvation Army is able to help the homeless through donations they receive. Last year alone, they served more than 50,000 meals to those in need and provided more than 10,000 nights of shelter right here in Monroe. On any given night, as many as 45% of the homeless people in America could be struggling with their mental health. In Monroe, the Wellspring is working to provide stability and access to treatment. Tyler Englander shows us how.
Christy Hall, the director of homeless services for the Wellspring, says people experiencing both homelessness and mental health struggles is common in Northeast Louisiana.
We actually always say here it's hard to know if the mental illness caused the homelessness or if the homelessness caused the mental illness.
She says finding a home is the first priority.
It's very difficult to get the help needed for mental health, to keep up with your mental health appointments or even your regular doctor's appointments, or with getting to meetings and things that help with substance abuse if all you can think about daily is where am I going to lay my head tonight or where can I be.
Hall says the Wellspring offers permanent housing opportunities along with support like food and rent assistance to allow people to work on their mental health as soon as possible.
Because if those underlying issues are not addressed, they will not stay housed. They will return right back to homeless.
Hall says it's common for veterans struggling from post-traumatic stress disorder to experience homelessness.
It's about them earning your trust and knowing that you do want to help them. But
Hall says whether it's PTSD, schizophrenia, or any other mental illness, having support is key.
An episode might not always, as a matter of fact, it most often would not occur between 8 and 5. And so, you need those programs where there's kind of some 24-hour, not necessarily medical care or something like that, but just some 24-hour staff where there's someone around if they need something.
Hall cautions against stigmatizing homeless people who struggle with their mental health. She says after working with them for years, most aren't dangerous. Tyler Englander, KNOE 8 News.
Having never been homeless before or in a situation like this, I just didn't know what I was facing. And
a woman from Monroe shared with us her story of how she became homeless and how grateful she is to be getting the help she needs.
68-year-old Deborah Skipper became homeless just over 2 months ago when her husband died from cancer.
his illness was rather sudden, and when there was no preparation, so I was pretty much left homeless and penniless.
Skipper was living in Florida when she decided to move back to Monroe to get help from friends and other resources.
And having never been homeless before or in a situation like this, I just didn't know what I was facing. And this community is just awesome on how if they don't have it, they send you to someone that does the help.
She's currently staying at the Salvation Army, which sent her to the Renewal Center to get the services she needs.
We assist with document recovery, IDs, birth certificates, Social Security cards. We assist individuals with filling out Social Security disabilities. We assist individuals that are going through fleeing from domestic violence. Anybody that hits our door, there's something that we can do for them. Like I say, if it's not any more than connecting them with other services in the community that may meet their needs.
Executive Director Billy Varner says in addition to providing local resources, they enter people into a homeless verification system.
And what that does, that allows other agencies in the area that's part of the continuum to see the individuals that we're entering into the system. And whereas we may not have a bed, one of the other agencies may say, well, look, we see this individual, we have X amount of beds.
The Renewal Center serves 3 meals and remains open during the day, so Skipper can stay there in between appointments and interviews.
I was really impressed with the service that I got here and the attention, because this service worker went above and beyond her duty to help me, and so quickly. The social worker helped me with getting income started. And how she did that was that she contacted organizations for medical and for SSI and different things that I qualify for. I mean, I came here with nothing and left here rich because of this center.
The Salvation Army is another group that has changed thousands of lives in Northeast Louisiana. Captain Jerry Casey says his life was changed due to the Salvation Army, and now it's his turn to lend a helping hand.
I've seen the miracle happen, and sometimes it takes a week, and sometimes it takes 6 months. Sometimes it takes a year. It doesn't matter. As long as they're trying to help themselves, we as a community will help them.
Casey knows that miracle all too well because he too was homeless.
Every case is individual, and my passion is because I've been there. And somebody helped me, you know, who didn't know me from Adam, and they helped me.
So now Casey is giving back. In fact, when his homeless friend called from out of state, Casey was there to help.
I called him and talked to him, and he's like one of the most selfless people I've ever met. He come all the way to Dalton, Georgia from down here, pick me up, and bring me back down here.
Here, where the Salvation Army offers much more than shelter with breakfast and dinner every day for men, women, and children. They also have an on-site food bank. Casey says they get you comfortable first and then figure out your needs.
We have a caseworker that comes in once a week. And he speaks with each and every individual. We also have a medical bus that comes in on every Tuesday. We also have 12-step programs that come every Tuesday night. We have a social service worker that's here.
The Salvation Army is always looking for donations because it's not cheap. It costs up to $41,000 a month to run the shelter and to help people with their utility bills. And get this, Henderson says with the help of the Salvation Army, he plans to start working there soon.
I just love helping people. I mean, there's no better, that's what God wants us to do, is just to help people, and that's what I do.
Inspiring actions, local church volunteers changing lives one meal at a time. We'll introduce you to a ministry that takes helping the homeless to a new level.
It's just not fair for any human to have to go through what these people are going through.
Healthcare Heroes, a group of students, are leading the way to provide free medical services to the homeless. We'll tell you how when we return in less than 2 minutes. Welcome back. The Home Coalition of Northeast Louisiana collects data about the homeless and helps various service providers work together. I spoke with Director Sarah Johnson about what is needed to lower the number of homeless people in our community, as well as if our area has enough services for the homeless. What's needed to lower the number of homeless people in our community? Kind of what contributes to these people becoming homeless, and what needs to happen so less people become homeless?
With homelessness, one size does not fit all. The key to reducing the number of people who are homeless and getting the people who are out of homelessness is to identify as quickly as possible what caused it. And you address that underlying cause. One of my colleagues said homelessness is the fruit, not the root. So you have to address whatever led to that homelessness. And so what an individual who is fleeing domestic violence needs is going to be different than what someone who's chronically homeless needs, or someone who's an 18-year-old who left their family home and doesn't have anywhere else to go, or somebody who is a small family and they're just barely scraping by. Each type of individual or each household that becomes homeless has a different reason. So the thing we can do to help them the most to reduce the likelihood that they become homeless and to get them out of homelessness as quickly as possible is to make it easy for them to access the resources for help. And we have done that to the extent that we can. And also to have a correct number of types of services for the number of people we see become homeless in a year. And we actually do pretty well at that too.
That was my next question is, do we have enough services for the homeless in our area?
We actually, for most people who become homeless, we do. Most people who become homeless need just help paying their rent for a short period of time while they address whatever financial situation led to their homelessness. And we have, at the moment, more than we typically do because of COVID. There have been extra resources that have been introduced. So if someone needs help paying their rent, and that's generally called rental assistance, and we can help them with that. It has to be for verifiable reasons. But once we can document those reasons, then we can help them with that, help them while they pay their rent, or some of it, while they address whatever the underlying issues were. Well, if someone is a victim of domestic violence, they may need extra help because of that, dealing with the trauma of the domestic violence, finding a safe place to live. I mean, it's a variety of different things someone needs. So we actually have done a lot of study of the amounts of types of services we have. So right now we have more than we typically do because of COVID. So we almost have enough to meet the needs. The thing we don't have enough of is affordable housing. And what that means is if whatever the average income someone makes, that 1/3 of that was what it takes to pay for safe, decent, affordable housing for them and their families. Well, if someone makes like minimum wage, if there's one minimum wage earner in a house and there's several children in the house, then they're not going to be able to afford their own place. So they need some help with subsidized rent. And that may be from a Section 8 voucher, that could be from some kind of public housing. So we'd have a really bad mismatch of affordable housing to people who need that to be housed.
Does the Home Coalition offer rental assistance, or would that be through a different service?
Home Coalition is kind of the big picture provider. We collect data about homelessness. We analyze the system of services to see if we have enough. We manage the annual competition for federal grant funds for that. And we also provide the structure for the intake process when people come into the system and help be sure they flow on throughout. So we are if all these individual service providers are sort of the bricks, we're the mortar that makes the system function like a system.
Some signs is that you may realize that they're very transit, first of all, moving from school to school. You may notice a gap in their learning. You may notice poor hygiene, even kids at school trying to hoard food.
It's Homeless Awareness Month, and we continue to look at the problem here in Northeast Louisiana. And it doesn't just involve adults. Officials say up to 100 students are homeless each year. LaShonda McEwen takes an in-depth look into what's being done to help.
These look like your ordinary students, but what many don't know is that some of them could be homeless. And reaching out to help can be hard since many keep it a secret. However, experts say the signs are there.
Some signs is that you may realize that they're very transit, first of all, moving from school to school. You may notice a gap in their learning. You may notice poor hygiene, even kids at school trying to hoard food.
Jolynn Bobo is the Ouachita Parish School Board Title I Supervisor and Homeless Liaison. She says once a child is identified as homeless, the district will step in and provide a hygiene kit and help with school supplies.
Also, if we have the funding available, we try to help with school fees. The other things that we do is we have schools that require uniforms. We have vouchers to help parents with uniforms.
Bobo says if a child can't return home for some reason, they refer them to an outside agency like the Christopher Youth Center. Officials there say the children will receive counseling along with their family for 21 days.
We service victimized homeless and runaway youth, which is basically also like a youth center where we provide emergency housing, shelter, food, clothing, counseling, tutoring, transportation to schools. And also if we just can't meet their needs in some kind of way, we refer them out.
Bridget says the center is available 24/7. In Monroe, LaShonda McEwen with KNOE 8 News.
Northeast Louisiana is full of people who are always lending a helping hand. Kristen Payne introduces us to some students at ULM's Kitty Degree School of Nursing who are providing much needed medical aid to the homeless.
When someone is homeless, it's hard to get health care. This is where the ULM Kitty Degree School of Nursing steps in.
It's just not fair for any human to have to go through what these people are going through for reasons that aren't their fault because they can't get what they need.
Alicia Lorette and other students visit homeless shelters like the Renewal Center and utilize the St. Francis Mobile Unit to work hands-on with people in need. They perform assessments, take vitals, and discuss their medications and conditions to help them understand their health. Associate Professor Dr. Amy Miller says this helps the students to become comfortable with doing assessments in the field.
The individuals there, the homeless, they are very good at wanting you to talk to them about everything. Preventive health, they're wanting you to discuss some of their needs that they could have access, outside the community.
Associate Professor Vonnie Thornton thinks it's important for students to understand the struggles, so work can be done to advocate for the homeless.
My students have the most wonderful heart, and they show empathy to those people. Instead of feeling so alienated because of their illness or their situation, they have a deeper understanding that I am a person that's worthwhile.
Students believe the relationships built are beneficial.
It just brightens their day, just to have somebody to talk to them and make them feel like a person. And then even the littlest things you do, these people are so grateful for because they have nothing at all.
Lorette hopes the small things the nursing students do can make a big difference in the lives of the homeless. In Monroe, Kristen Payne, KNOE 8 News.
A Monroe ministry is dedicated to feeding the homeless, but the simple project brings a lot more to the table.
I just love helping people. I mean, there's no better, that's what God wants us to do, it's just to help people, and that's what I do.
The Simple Project's mission is simple. They spread the word of God while helping the homeless.
We feed every Saturday at 12. We give out clothes, hygiene bags, we give out mats, We relocate homeless. If everything checks out, we relocate them to where their families are.
The president of the Simple Project, Brent Bearden, says they run solely off of donations. They'll provide anything anyone needs that comes for a free meal, from toothbrushes, socks, coats, to handmade mats made by a local church that provide a cushion to sleep on. Bearden says churches volunteer every Saturday to bring a hot lunch. Before the pandemic, they were feeding up to 115 people every weekend. Now, they serve anywhere from 30 to 70 people every Saturday. The Simple Project does more than feed the homeless. They build relationships with everyone that crosses their path.
You get to know them by the faces and their names. You get to learn their stories, why they are. You get to understand their relationship with everything that they do.
And Bearden makes sure to start every meal with a special prayer.
They want to hear you talk about God. They want to hear you talk about how much you love them. The first thing I tell them every Saturday is, when I get in front of them, is no matter what is going on in your life, I want you to know that God loves you.
Another unique thing the Simple Project does that benefits the homeless community is the Blessing Box, and it's located here, right outside the Simple Project door. The Blessing Box is a discreet way the homeless can get items they may need.
People can come by during the week, put stuff in it. We put stuff in every Saturday, and the homeless can come by anytime, get food, drinks, Bible literature, anything like that.
The Renewal Center on Desird Street has big plans for the future. As Tyler Englander explains, it's hoping to raise money to add a dining center, incubator, and transitional housing.
Just months after rebranding, the Renewal Center, formerly known as the Desird Street Shelter, is looking to expand. It starts with a gathering place.
And that dining hall will be built similar to a high school dining hall with your serving area, and then of course you have your open area where your tables.
Executive Director Billy Varner says one of his top priorities is ensuring those experiencing homelessness feel like they're part of a community.
You know, it's one thing to put a meal out, but what I miss the most, and I think what our volunteers miss the most, is the interaction with our guests.
Varner says the Renewal Center will use the increased space to expand resources, including a document recovery program and Social Security assistance program.
Well, the whole idea is to use that area when they're not eating to facilitate the groups and the other programs.
Varner says phase 3 of the expansion will include an incubator to train guests for success in future careers.
And hopefully they would get a 3 to 6 month basic culinary arts certificate.
Varner says the plan is to construct another building with a commercial kitchen to facilitate the program.
And they would have a basic knowledge of health as well as, sanitation to go in and work in restaurants.
The goal, according to Varner, is to create a campus-like feel. Phase 4 of the program would add both dormitory shelter space and transitional housing.
I would not want to house any more than probably 20 during emergency cases.
Varner is looking to local churches to help raise money for the expansion. He hopes it'll be completed within 5 years. In Monroe, Tyler Englander, KNOE 8 News.
To help out, go to our website at knoe.com to check out our homeless special page. There, you'll find links to organizations you can donate to. An estimated 580,000 people are experiencing homelessness in America, but the most recent count does not reflect fallout from the pandemic. This Homelessness Awareness Month, lawmakers say they are working to lower the numbers. Our D.C. Bureau reporter Kristen Casper joins us now with more.
Lawmakers here in Washington say homelessness is an ongoing crisis, and it's compounded by poverty, mental illness, drug addiction, and now the COVID-19 pandemic.
Arkansas Republican Senator John Bozeman says many of those factors affect the homeless veteran population in particular, and help isn't always immediately available.
Most of the veterans that are homeless are outside of the VA system. And so we're trying to make it such where we partner with local entities that do a good job taking care of the homeless and provide them stipends, partner with them.
But veterans, of course, aren't the only ones suffering.
The lack of affordable housing drives people that go to work every day to still live out of their cars.
Louisiana Democrat Representative Troy Carter points to efforts included in the Build Back Better spending bill, which now sits in the Senate. If passed as currently written, the legislation would allocate $150 billion in affordable housing assistance. But the issue of homelessness is complex, and it's not easily solved on paper. So then how?
You break the cycle, and you break the cycle early.
Barbara Duffield is the executive director of Schoolhouse Connection. She's an advocate working to overcome homelessness through education. She says, according to studies, around 20% of the urban homeless population faced the struggle first as a child.
So the more that we can ensure that there are targeted resources for children and youth, housing resources that schools have access to, then we can support holistically, both on the education side and on the housing side.
Duffield commends a recent action by the U.S. Senate designating November as National Homeless Children and Youth Awareness Month. Reporting in Washington, I'm Kristen Casper.
Lawmakers in the U.S. House of Representatives are also exploring a measure to help homeless veterans. The bipartisan Return Home Housing Act would raise government payment reimbursement amounts to community organizations that provide transitional housing to veterans. Officials say there are about 40,000 homeless veterans on the street every night, and the pandemic has made their daily challenges even worse. The bill is currently under review in the House Subcommittee on Economic Opportunity. Thank you for joining us today, and please consider taking the time to donate to one of the organizations we spotlighted or volunteer to help the homeless.